Hey to the most amazing nurses. It is Dr. V here with Morning Infusion with Dr. V podcast, where we are intentional about teaching nurses how to work from anywhere around the world, making money and owning your own time, building profitable nurse coaching and consulting businesses. You will hear from amazing guests that have grown their companies and want to share insight into how you can do the same to change the face of healthcare as we know it. If you want to grow your businesses and leverage your knowledge as a nurse to grow wildly successful businesses at the top, instead of working your way to the top, head on over and join our Millionaire Nurse CEO group on Facebook, where you can ask questions and get updates on our live and virtual events to help you grow your businesses. Good morning. Good morning. So I am really excited this morning because we've got Dr. Ora Robinson. Okay. And so Dr. Robinson is actually on the West Coast. And so it's 4:30 a.m. in the morning where she's at. She's like, listen, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm good. And so it's amazing. So, I first would like to ask that you like, share, and comment any comments that you have on this conversation. It's going to be a very good conversation. It's going to be very enlightening for some, and it's going to bring back some memories for others. So, Dr. Robinson, tell us who you are in your own words.
Who am I? I am originally a shy little girl from Lake City, Florida, who was scared of her own shadow. And I was shy up until probably in my 40s. And, I have all these accolades, doctorate. I just received my national board certification in health and wellness. Yay. And I'm a researcher at heart. So I like to look at topics, explore what has been done in them, and then make some changes because I'm here to be a change agent.
Sweet.
Yes, and my passion is to inspire, motivate, and educate one nurse, one nursing student, or one individual to meet their goals.
I love it. So now tell me a little bit about why, and Linda said, hi, good morning. Good morning, Linda. So tell me a little bit about why you even became a nurse. Actually, let's start back in elementary school because that was a good story in elementary school that you told me.
Mm-hmm. Well, in elementary school, I could not pronounce CH and SH. So I was put in speech class. And that teacher there told me at around 8 years old that I would never speak in front of people. I shouldn't take jobs that deal with people. At 8, I don't even know what the job is. So I didn't realize that I internalized that over the years. And I actually secured positions where I didn't have people contact. For example, I was a medical transcriber for 15 years prior to nursing. That worked well with me. That worked well with the narrative that was put in my brain at 8 years old. I have a cassette tape. Don't have to make coffee. Don't have to remind nobody of appointments and just type and be in isolation.
Wow. Tanya, good morning. There's a video. Well, it's a story kind of the same thing of this, because listen, let me tell you something. When I say overcome, you have overcome all of that. But there was a story where a teacher, and I want to encourage all teachers, right? Don't say things like that to your children, right? And so anyway, so she said this to this child. He was apparently a nomad. He wrote out his vision for what his life should look like. He said that he was going to have this 26-acre ranch, and she ended up giving him a C on the paper because his vision was too large. and she told him that he should take it back.
Mhm.
If he downsizes the vision, then she would put an A on the paper. And so he asked his daddy. His daddy was like, well, this is your decision. Do you want to keep the vision, or do you want to move forward, right? And so he said, I'm gonna keep the vision. You keep your seat. You keep your A, right? And
Mhm.
so years later, they came to his farm. That very teacher with a bunch of kids came to that same farm, and she apologized. She said, I was killing children's dreams at that time. And
Mhm.
so that's important. I love that.
Mhm.
Hello, Maureen and Joy. So
Mhm.
now tell us, Dr. Robinson, um, tell us after you was the medical transcriptionist for 15 years, what did you do after that?
Well, actually, it was a necessity that I went into nursing. I typed pathology reports, and we had a Russian doctor come over, and he decided to videotape the autopsies, which meant my full-time job go to part-time. So my organization had a scholarship opportunity for minorities to go back to become a nurse. I went reluctantly, never wanted to be a nurse, didn't like nothing about nursing. And keep in mind, I was very shy and introverted.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to go back to my baccalaureate program and get a RN there.
So it was so you had to do that in order to keep your job.
Well, I had to do that in order to survive because the job was going to be eliminated as a transcriber. So nursing afforded me the ability to still keep working. And it ended up being a good move because nursing taught me how to be more assertive. I got to learn how to be around people. Even though I would break out in hives every clinical, I still persevered and got through it that way. So, like some of you guys go to nursing school for the quote money. I was one of those, but I end up loving nursing by having a couple of good teachers to introduce me to the real world of nursing.
Now, when you got in nursing school, you encountered another
Mhm,
obstacle.
mhm.
So tell us about that.
Yes. Let me give the audience just a synopsis to put me in context. So you heard about my elementary experience. When I went to high school, they told me not to take upper level science courses because I didn't have the IQ to do anything in healthcare, thus medical transcriber. When I went to community college, I was overlooked. Would raise my hand in anatomy class. She wouldn't respond to me at all, or another black student. So I just quit community college, quit a scholarship because I wasn't going to handle that, during the civil rights era. And then when I went to the university, I was enrolled in nursing school, guys. I was enrolled, and I was summoned to the assistant dean's office. And I'm wondering, is everyone else summoned to this office? Anyway, I got in there. She told me to sit down, just sit down. And she went on to discuss that I would not be getting a degree at their nursing school, to go back to my medical record librarian degree and work on that. Very stoic. And all I could think of was
Can I ask you something? What year was that?
19, let me think. I graduated in 88, 85, somewhere around there.
Wow.
It was late. And she was part of the liaison for the Association of Black Nursing. So she's a gatekeeper. And all I could do was go in the bathroom and cry because that was my first experience with institutional or systematic racism that I've heard about. Luckily, I'm in my 30s by then. So I knew not to just take it. And I filed a complaint. And not a complaint, I actually went to the dean to ask some discovery questions. I don't understand. I used all my therapeutic I had to find out what's going on. I talked to a physician in the area. And to this day, I don't know if him and his wife said anything because she was on boards of hospitals. After that, she backed off of me. But that goes to show you that that adversity of bullying started in elementary school. And I wanted to bring that out, that I was so shy and introverted based on what I've heard in my ear gate. not listening to my parents who always encouraged me to be a nurse, to be whatever I wanted to be.
That is like every time you tell me that story, I am just in awe. And Miss Livington, Linda Livington said, "Oh wow," right? Because it is just crazy. Now, you then go on to get your nursing degree,
Mhm,
and you went back to school and you got your BSN,
mhm.
and then what happened after then?
Well, I was on the nursing floor, and this is what started my research actually in racism and nursing. A doctor came up to the counter, was asking to speak to the nurse caring for his patient. I got up and said, "I'm Ora, I'm taking care of your patient." He looked right through me and looked at the other nurse who was white, and he began to speak to her. And I told him, "I'm the nurse." And he looked at me and just started talking to the other nurse. So I just backed away and sat down in earshot. And he went away, didn't write an order. The nurse came over to me, walked over to me. I'm sitting in my chair and she's looking down at me giving an order. I say, "I'm not taking any orders from a nurse. You took the order, you need to write it in the chart." She did not. The patient got transferred. Now keep in mind it wasn't nothing urgent because I could hear the order. It was to take out a PIC line. Anyway, the doctor come running back, stomping. I heard his feet. He's yelling and screaming, "Who's a nurse? Who's a nurse?" "I'm Ora, I'm the nurse." And he just ripped me up in terms of why did I send his patient to the floor with the PIC line. I got the chart and said, "I don't see an order. There's no order written." My supervisor heard the commotion, came up, "What's going on?" Calmed down. She was a good supervisor who protected her nurses. And that made me more aware of what I've been hearing since 18 about nursing eating their young, nursing not being supportive of each other. I just started my career and this doctor's already yelling and screaming at me. My father don't even scream at me. My granddaddy didn't scream at me. So no one else is screaming at me that way. So that's when I went back to school and got my master's in community mental health so I could figure out how to deal with people like that, with their behavior. And that led me to my research trajectory on racism in nursing.
Wow.
And at that hospital, I worked there for 22 years. And once I became a nurse, everybody stopped speaking to me. I had to take refresher courses before I could start nursing. So it was an amazing journey. They tried to go down to the county to make sure I had to work all the 3 shifts because I had 22 years seniority. And by going to school, they kept my seniority running, and I got a paycheck every 2 weeks.
That is crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
And it is a thing. And I think that, Maureen said it's a powerful story and it's humbling. And it is humbling, right? Because what I don't think sometimes there is this understanding of what you go through
Mhm,
within the nursing profession and all the things that you go through, right?
mhm,
As a Black nurse.
mhm,
And, there are times when we have dealt with things like this. Like, when I was on the med surg floor, we had this, and she was an RN. She was an RN. We both were LPNs. I was an LPN for about 10 years. And we had 25 patients. Well, she was supposed to take a portion of those 25 patients, and she didn't take them. So she told us that we had to split them up, and that she would just be reviewing the chart. Well, I can
mhm,
review my own charts. I don't need you to do that. But she did that. So we had 12 and 13 patients a piece on the med surg floor,
wow,
right? And it was ridiculous. And that's one of the things that made me go back to get my RN degree. But
mhm,
even after you get your RN degree, you still have to deal with, those things such as that. Because ideally, if that physician gave that nurse that order, either she should have written it as a verbal order, or she should have told the doctor, "I'm not taking that order. I'm not this this patient's nurse. You
mhm,
need to talk to Ora," right? And so that gives that gives that physician the ability. But it's like, I'm going to protect me in the situation, and
mhm,
I'm not going to speak up, right? And
mhm,
fortunately, I've had, some pretty good managers as well that have spoken up. but not always in the fray of nursing, and it has to stop. So you said that you got your BSN, but you were told not to wear it on your name tag.
Yes, when I got my BSN, I was always told coming up, whatever degree you get, if it's in manure, you're gonna put that degree here. And they told me, no, don't put it there. We don't want you to stand out, and everybody else don't have it. I said, but I have mine. So I need you to put Ora Robinson, RN, BSN. Simple as that. So I didn't back down from that. The next thing you know, everybody's going back to school, getting their little BSN, and then all of a sudden you can wear your BSN. I said, interesting. So I always keep track of how behavior is toward one group toward another group. And my mission is just to eradicate it because I'll be 70 March 12th, and we're still talking about it. ANA, all of a sudden racism is in. Everybody want to talk about it, but I want to talk about it from a Black perspective, unapologetically. I'm not going to find these nice terms to make everybody comfortable because we've done that for 40, 50 years with commissions on race, and it has not happened yet. So we need to have honest, authentic, trusting, safe conversation and a safe place to have that conversation without being cut off.
And and that is so very true. And I have found that, and I have to be very intentional about how I look at it, because I've found that what has happened is we have the conversation sometimes. And this is what I want everybody to know. You will have the conversation at times and you will not be listened to. They will come for the information, but if they don't get the information that they need to get, then what happens is, or that they thought that they should get, or that makes them feel uncomfortable, then they will dismiss it. They will dismiss the fact. And we talked about that, earlier, where you said, you were at a conference. Was it at a conference that you were speaking at? And, nurses came up to you and said that that's not my
reality. And it might not be our reality, each one of our reality, but the majority, based on the women I've talked to at conferences, when I started doing the research, the recurring theme kept coming up: not being heard, feeling invisible, being sabotaged. And I took videos of some of the sessions, and if the person was 80 years old, 75 years old, 82 years old, that conversation took them back and their countenance changed. Some of them eyes watered up. Because I heard one story where she got her PhD and she could see the banners up celebrating her walking toward her office. And at the same time, she saw somebody tearing the banners down. That was profound and gutsy. And I'm thinking, wow.
Lord have mercy. So Ray said good morning, and Amari said, Dr. Ora, my doctorate is in a lack of diversity in nursing, the structures in place that hold our colleagues of color back. We white leaders must establish allyship and partnership, as Dr. Viola endorses. So thank you, Maureen, for saying that. And it is true, because we have to be very intentional about it and being very unapologetic. And as you said, one of the things that I am very clear on is that once I hit 40, like, you're gonna get the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I mean, you ain't gonna get, this iced over type of commentary. You get exactly how it feels, for that, and facts, right? Facts about how it is. Because if I've got, like you said, the things that were said to you, right? And I think that the overarching thing that people have to understand is that whenever you do that in the nursing profession, you will harm your patients. Period. Your patients will be harmed, because it is it is ridiculous to have, because number one is the mindset of the person who is going into that room. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it is the load of the patient, right? And understanding that if you want your hospitals to be better, then you have got to be very clear about the fact that we have got to change the narrative, and we've got to elevate this conversation to another level. And one of the things that I talked about, that I heard this particular weekend, we were at a conference, and I gotta say this, because what happens is we get out in the streets and we want to protest.
Mhm.
Okay, want to protest. So I heard it. Now, I'm not a big Master P fan. I am a little bit more of a fan now than I was at that time. But I went to a conference. He was at the conference, and one of the things that he said was he went to he sold CDs and his tapes out of his trunk for and he gained $300,000. And
Mhm.
what he said was, who is the person who is the biggest artist in the world? It was Michael Jackson at the time, right? So he got a hold of Michael Jackson's attorney, and Michael Jackson's attorney was like, "Who are you?" Right? And
Mhm.
so he actually got in he told him who he was, and he said, I want to know what he did. And so he said, well, that's going to cost you $25,000. Most of us would back down from that, right? So he said, I'm going to give you the $25,000. He gave him $25,000. And he said, well, if you do it this way, you only get 15% of of everything that you earn. If you do it this way, then you get 85% of it.
Mhm.
That's going to cost you $200,000. He gave the $200,000.
Mhm.
Because at the end of the day, he said, what we have to understand is that economic power is what elevates us to a different level. It is
Mhm.
nothing else, period, point blank, end of story. And a lot of people don't want to talk about economic power, but the reality is that in order for us to gain, and that's one of the reasons why I'm on this mission, right?
Mhm.
It's because it increases the economic power of the nurse to be able to move the needle in ways in which we couldn't have moved it before. So thank you for just your work. So now tell me, you went back after all this, went back and got your PhD.
Yes, the PhD was my degree. I always say the bachelor degree was for economics for the family. The master's degree was to help me be in the middle, and I didn't like the talking about baby showers and who's dating who. It's like I came to make change for the patient that way. So I went back just to know how to deal with those people, but I like research, you know. And then the PhD is my degree, my personal degree. I never wanted to sit at another employment opportunity and be told we would love to hire you, but you don't have no terminal degree. Education is key. So I've tried to figure out what degree should I get, PhD, EDD, and the PhD is the highest degree on the planet. Everybody can't get it. There's a small percentage of Black women. I forgot the percent, but it's like real low. And the men are, I think, they're a little above us or below us compared to all the rest. So when people told me not to say Dr. Robinson, don't have the students call you Dr. Robinson. And I'm thinking, well, I'm Dr. Robinson, I'm Dr. Ora, I'm Dr. O, I'm Dr. R, I could be Dr. B, but it's got to be Dr. something in front of it. Okay. So I was in my 50s. So I started school late. So once I started, I had that energy and motivation. And if you tell me no, that means yes, yes for me. And I'm going to keep moving through. And I'm doing this because I don't want another nurse to commit suicide. I don't want a nurse to commit homicide because that's a possibility that people are not thinking about. Okay. There's a fine line between sanity and insanity. And I know that from just common sense and being a psychiatric nurse on top of it. So they didn't want me to put the name on my lab coat. Nobody was wearing lab coats. I started wearing a lab coat. My mentor said, put your doctor on there with the PhD. I did. And then we get a notice that everybody has to put up their degrees in the office because I put my degrees up. I'm not hiding anything. And that's to motivate other students and other women and nurses that this has health consequences for us. Every day, if you're not bullied, you hear about some type of bully behavior from your friends or your peer group or in the news. My hair, this is not a fashion statement, have a little bit of alopecia, a little bit of hormonal, a little bit of side effects of blood pressure. 80% is racial stress. I was denied tenure twice, community college and a regular university, probably because of my research area of racism. And I would not change it to incivility or to make it something soft. And as Dr. Viola said about economic um, influence, I realized, wait a minute, that means I can't get research grants because I'm not affiliated with a major university. I can't get positions at some of the professional organizations because I don't have tenure. So I didn't realize that at the time because we just working trying to get up this career ladder and make a difference. And it's very important that we stay healthy. And part of my mission is to share my story, strategies that are used, evidence-based strategies, as well as faith-based strategies based on the nurses I interacted with on the research protocol. They use faith-based to get them through. No one used like became an alcoholic or anything. They might have a cup of wine after your day. But I realized if you have a wine every day after your rough day, every day in nursing is rough, you could eventually become an alcoholic, right? So I want to bring this to light, especially after the doctor committed suicide, that this is serious now. You know, I've tried to navigate, I tried to be the good colored person. It's not working at all. So now I'm like Martin Luther King, seriously. I've been to the mountaintop, I've seen it over. I was scared to publish my research because of racism and how that would impact me. And this isn't just about white nurses bullying us. We have Filipino nurses bullying us, talking in their language. I had a Filipino nurse told me, I'm not giving you a report, come back at 8 o'clock and get it from the other nurse speaking English. I got students coming in here in 1 hour, I need to report. And she didn't give me a report. So I had to wait till the director came in. So it's a lot that we go through in our different roles that is not spoken about, and there's not a lot of research on it either. So I would like to be a change agent and to start a movement of nurses against bullying. And diversity and inclusion. We had diversity, cultural competency. All that did not address the problem of race in America and what we experience as African Americans born here in these United States in terms of our work and what we do. And I'm finding this to be at all levels, at all professional levels, in terms of what we have to experience. I conducted research at my university with nursing students on their perceptions of racism in academia and the clinical setting. And it was awesome because I used impedance cardio monitoring, where you put the patches on to monitor their heart rate. And then they took a psychological test so we can see the changes in their physiology. And it was amazing. Even those who observe racism or acts of bullying, it impacted their psychological well-being and physical health. So it's big. And like you say, marching is fine, but we have to do some action movements, one person at a time. Hopefully that person will have more influence than you.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. That's right. I love, love.
Mhm.
I love how you have taken your experiences. One of the things that I always say is that your greatest purpose would come out of your greatest pain.
Mhm.
And you have taken your pain, you have, it amazes me how you have, now you're speaking in front of audiences.
Mhm.
um, Now you have done very different than what was originally told to you. You're in academia, you're in front of people, you have went through nursing school, you have your PhD after being told that you should not ever do that. That is absolutely phenomenal, and I applaud you because, and I just ask everyone to congratulate Dr. Ora
Mhm.
Robinson in the comment section. Congratulate her. Let her see that what she's doing is very, very important. Now, one of the things that I want to know is, where can they find you if they want to talk chat about this?
Well, right now you can find me at www. The Invisible Black Nurse. It's being revamped. I have a team, and that way you'll be able to purchase items. I have a book already published. I'm working on a collaboration with Lisa Nichols on overcomers. So I'll be having that come out, and I have a chapter in an anthology book that talks about why we stay at the bedside. Why do Black folks stay at the bedside with their family members? And I give examples of a client situation where I needed to be an advocate for them as a family member, and some of my family members where the treatment would have been terrible if I wasn't there or get up from the gurney to say, hey, what are you doing there? So I just want to bring light to it. I mean, light has been brought to it now. Everybody's talking about it. But I think Black people need to talk about it. Why is it okay to talk about it now? When I was doing this 25 years ago, it wasn't okay to talk about it. So I have a different framework in terms of how to have the discussion, maintaining the integrity of both people. For example, I had a situation at one of my positions where I was told not to teach on sickle cell anemia or any other Black health issues. And because a student didn't like sickle cell anemia. Anyway, so I went to look at my work I've done with Lisa Nichols and Stephen Covey on speed of trust and love confrontation. And I was able to have that hard discussion with my supervisor. And I went in, I'm going to share this with you guys. I went in and I said, first of all, you need to know I don't think you're a racist, but the behavior you demonstrated is racist-like.
Because they were taught it. The reality is that you're taught that behavior.
Mhm.
You're taught that it is okay. But until you understand that you would never do that to your white counterpart and just really think about it, then you won't know.
And sometimes they won't know. And that's why it's important that we start a gentle conversation, because sometimes they really don't know when it's ingrained into you. And that's for all of us. So I need you to tell me if I upset you or if I perceive. I like to use the word perceive because it's all a perception, communication back and forth, right? But if you don't tell me I've hurt you or upset you, I don't know to change it. I don't know how to self-reflect on that. So I would want everybody to really create a resilience action plan. I use the word action on purpose. We can do plans and put it aside, right? New Year's resolutions. Let's create an action plan, a resiliency action plan that works. That works. And honestly, for me personally, and from the research participants, God is our source. Jesus is our source. That's the foundation to keep us going through. Because I don't know how I even do what I do without the grace of God.
Right.
You know, and it's just sad that people would hurt other people, first patients, just to get back at me. Increase the IV fluid, and then they find it, and then they blame you. Little things like that. And we need to know that we're not talking just about white people or nurses or Filipino nurses or any other nurses that we are bullied by, but we also are bullied by our own, okay, colorism. So I didn't want to leave that out too. My first physician, I asked the Black nurse some questions, and she said, no, I ain't telling you nothing. You're going to learn it just like me. And I'm thinking, okay, yeah, you experienced that. I've experienced some stuff, but I don't want my next future nurse to experience that. So I'm going to help them. I'm going to nurture them. I'm going to duplicate me in them so they can be an excellent nurse, a proactive nurse, and keep their psychological well-being and physical health.
That's very true. I had a physician who was not white. He was African American, and I came up to him. I wanted to catch him before he left the floor. And I came up to him and I said, "Look," I said, "this person is having chest pain," and he was like, "Did you take any vital signs?" Because she had just told me He was leaving the floor. I knew he was leaving the floor, right? And so I just came up to him. He was like, "Did you take vital signs? You didn't do any of that. And then you're coming to me telling me that the patient has chest pain." Well, if the patient is having chest pain and the patient is truly having a heart attack, blood pressure can be fine. As long when you do the EKG will tell you whether they're having a heart attack. How about you give me an EKG order? But at that time, I was a very new nurse
Mhm.
and I didn't have the fortitude that I have now after years of nursing. And so it was, it was, and I was hurt and I was just like, oh, and just crying. And so I called him back and I gave him the vital signs. And then he, first of all, he wouldn't pick up the phone initially. And so I had to get the supervisor involved. So it was just a whole, thing, and being very intentional about that and having your family members. As a matter of fact, I'm glad that you brought that up. There's two things. Number one, I think the representation is everything. So I'm really, really glad that you went back and that you had this story of resilience.
Mhm.
But number two, I believe that we as I don't care who you are, you need to have your family members at their bedside in
Mhm.
order to be able to really, really be intentional about seeing what's going on with the physicians, what's going on with the nurses,
Mhm.
and not to bully the nurses, not to, be very calm, write things down that you don't understand.
Mhm.
It is key, right? Because it really is hard to, in this environment right here, to take care of patients. It
Mhm.
just is what it is, right? And so you as the advocate for your family member, I've got a niece that's in the hospital right now, and she has, she coded, and
Mhm.
her family they have been there literally every day, 24 hours a day to
Mhm.
take care of her, to ensure. And it's important that you're there because if you're there, then you can understand exactly what's going on and you can ensure that your family member is taken care of.
Mhm.
So thank you, Dr. Robinson.
And what people don't understand is um, we die with racism. You heard during the pandemic the doctor who they didn't believe her pain, and she's a doctor and they know you. And I remember I had a patient, um, end of life, and when they're end of life, we take them to the hospice room. And we had a young lady in there, about 25, cervical cancer, sort of rich, wealthy, like. And she didn't want to give up the room. The nurse didn't want to give up the room. I said, the room is going to be given up because protocol is he's in life. He needs a large room. Family is coming. So if he had another nurse, he probably would have stayed in a regular room with another patient and died, you know. So it's very important that we stay focused, we help each other. And when I say each other, nurses in general, my specific focus right now is Black nurses so you don't commit suicide. You can know how to be healthy, mentally healthy, how to communicate, because we can't snap them up. That's not going to work. All that's going to do is internalize you. I like to help nurses learn how to forgive. I didn't want to forgive. I mean, I had some interesting things, some thoughts in my mind. I'm not going to say this on the podcast, but they wasn't good thoughts. And you don't want to go there. So I had to do a search on how do I manage this. And my husband, bless his heart, he's passed on now. He would always tell me, "No, you can't think that way." I say, "Yes, I'm gonna go call my cousin in Florida. I'm gonna find out how you put a hex on somebody." And well, I know I can write their name and stuff. He said, "No, no, no, no. You need to forgive. Forgiveness is about us,
Mm,
no one else." Okay.
that part.
Once you get that, my life has been better and smoother because now I look at people, not that is Dolores doing this to me. Somebody's working through Dolores. Her spirit is out of alignment. She may have an illness. She may be preoccupied with something. So I always like to look at what is the person possibly going through. Tease all that out. And if they're okay, then that means it could be a personality defect versus even racism. So it's not like cut and dry, but we just need to have the conversation and not be scared. I mean, when I think about it, maybe I was looking like the house slave. I'm gonna be just nice, do everything just nice. No, it's not working. And I'm 70, be 70, and I'm bracing 70 guys. So I'm celebrating the 60s club, going into the 70s club because I persevered once I started back to school. It took me 7 years to get my PhD that I was done in 2 years with the coursework. I could have been done in 1 year, but my mentors would die out. Then I have to get a reconfiguration. I had 3 dissertation topics. They didn't like this one. They didn't like that one. Black grandfathers. I was interested to know if the grandfathers who wasn't primary fathers of their children in their life, are they in the grandkids' life?
Mm.
I want that. So, yeah, I'm a sort of a radical, a nice, quiet radical when it comes to that. In terms of just being factual, we're tired of talking about it. We need to make some baby steps. I say baby steps because you just can't go full force. You lose energy. But you need to give yourself a strategic plan for your life, your resilience, how you're going to manage your feelings. Because only one thing we can do is manage our responses to a response we get. That's it. No one can fuss by themselves. So I've learned to use different phrases like, okay, thank you for the information. I'll take it under consideration. And I smile. Because if I don't smile, I look different.
That's right. You can only manage you. At the end of the day, that's one thing, of course, as maturity, your attitude determines your altitude. It says in Proverbs that, a soft answer turns away wrath. And so we have to be very, very clear about that and understanding that it is what it is. It's not going to change that person. The only person you can change at the end of the day is you. And so
Absolutely.
I'm super, super excited. So it appears that Maureen said, can you share your website again, please?
The website is www. The Invisible Black Nurse.
The Invisible Black Nurse.
If you want to reach me, clearly, Nurse Ora at outlook.com. Okay. I would love to hear from you, your feedback. I'm going to be relaunching my book. I'm going to have some other books coming out, and I would love you to be first in line to reach out to me, and then I can autograph your book for you.
Okay. I love it. Now, Joy said, I can appreciate the experience because she gets bullied daily. She said it was a needed conversation. You are an inspiration. Tanya said the session has blessed my soul. I'm glad it has blessed your soul, Tanya. And if you're on any other site other than LinkedIn, once the comments start coming in, they come in from that one site. So I may not have seen your comments on other platforms, but we will go back and address each comment because we want to ensure, maybe they do come in. Great session, Facebook user. But we just want to be intentional about ensuring that we're amplifying these conversations. Now, the last thing that I'm going to ask you, in 10 years, where do you see your research? Where do you see, or 5 years, 5, 10 years, however you want to go? Because I like the shorter time periods, right? Where do you see yourself at that time?
In 5 years, I see my health and wellness coaching business. It's going to be specific for forgiveness, dealing with resilience, racism, and also working with the other nurses who are bullies. And it's going to be self-sustaining. 10 years, I want to have it's going to be a movement, not just in the United States, but globally, because I've been to 4 continents. I talk to people in terms of what issues they have. Is there any color variations based on who you are? The answer is always yes, or the caste system. So we're all experiencing it as women. The majority are nurses. And wouldn't it be powerful if nurses could learn how to eradicate racism within a profession? It's within us. I'm not talking about the patients being racist towards you, but within us, the caring professional who can't care for each other. But the power we would have if we would embrace each other. The older nurses share the nuances that's not in the textbook. The young people can help us with the technology or whatever else going on with the trends. So we can be a force, American nursing force, where we can now go out to other countries and help them with their healthcare needs.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, has been amazing to have this conversation. I just ask that you like, share, comment on this podcast so that we can get it out to the masses and download it on Apple Podcasts. You guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. It has been absolutely wonderful, Dr. Robinson. Thank you.
Thank you.